Microphones.
Oh, they do. Nah, I ain't doing it. If they want to do that, that's fine.
I'm already over there, and if you're not, I will forget.
I know. James is kind of good with it. I hadn't heard him do any side work. I'd call Bob down at the county.
I know they got those, I've seen them before, they got those little forming machines and it spits, almost like ice cream, it spits it out.
Oh, they're not gonna do that for that. Oh, no. It don't. How many $100 or something like that? They're just-
Yeah, you tan really fast.
It's about 400 foot.
Oh,
Mhm.
you were all along.
Turn it off. when you turn-
On the side of the driveway, yeah. That's only my personal stuff, that's why I said they do on the side.
Oh, I don't know if he'll do that. That's a little bit bigger.
Like, I don't know.
Um,
I turned up the air.
I have a chip, I have about 400 feet, well, no, it's about 200 feet, 400, it's 200 on each side, so 400 linear feet.
The palace, you shouldn't be cheap. You should pay somebody. to do it.
My toes, like.
Had to build the whole thing myself, so I'm worn out, man, I'm tired. I'm weary, my back hurts. My back- I do it Oak Tree, they do it for you, POA does.
Yeah, there's several little concrete groups. I just know like they're forming. I don't know who to contact.
I called a bunch of paving guys and they'll pave it for you, but they don't do any kind of like curbing or edging.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all gotta be hand pouring, and that concrete truck came out and poured concrete.
I'd imagine get a truck and just go out there on the street.
I know.
To a
They
farm,
could- Yeah, they could use a pump truck.
Wow.
to a farm.
It's a lot bigger than a.
My
I thought you were talking.
Well, 50.
No, it's 200 feet on each side.
Yeah, that's a bigger
I
job.
mean, you're probably $1,200-1,500 just for the pump truck.
Yeah, well, it's, I think it's 500 just for on top of whatever, on top of your concrete.
I think they charge like $350 an hour for the truck.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not going anywhere,
Why go?
but I don't have to doing this, do I?
They got the, and that's it.
You might have-
They got those, you're in the crowd, like water red and it's gonna be.
Claustrophobia would take me.
Trying to think of the guy, the guy know has one.
Claustrophobia is the one that would make me go.
I know a guy that goes to landscape. If I called him, he's done my flower beds and stuff, but he doesn't do like big, like street curbing.
Hey.
He's got the little walk behind machine. It's called a curb appeal. Scott. curb appeal. He's got a machine that he.
Put them next to each other on purpose.
Labor either, he's like, yeah, I'll just walk by.
Because when you,
the machine, but I ain't
I'm
like.
thinking about like, she from back, you know, when I was.
Oh, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. I want the big type stuff. You're talking about like landscape curbing, which is like that thin concrete. He wouldn't do, it wouldn't hold up on a.
Have you thought about just a
They weren't like,
asphalt curb?
He thought about, no, I just want some kind of curbing.
it's just like, doesn't mean that.
Could- Asphalt curb.
Well,
Cheaper.
bought in.
We don't deal with. Basically, what they do is they, it's all cut, get a clean edge. Asphalt.
I think so, yeah. We've got everything all hammered out.
It's two blocks of concrete.
Last week, right? You mean, see what they put, and then put some asphalt in, the asphalt is a little more.
Yes.
That'll blend into the actual chip and seal as well, because the asphalt kind of grabs some of that loose gravel.
Well, they put some tack oil in it, so you'd have. They- A couple options.
Brandon made.
Come on, small. Yeah, tractors I work with are like, Air X and.
I didn't know if,
Those are big.
I said, though, if you had guys that did that work during the day, I was like, well, on the way back home.
Not that, not.
On my way home, I get.
Some guys doing, I can tell you.
Or something.
One of those,
Somebody's job,
that's a big job. Like,
Should I rename him?
I know, a tree guy, I found the guys that treated them, guys, the best guys that do that are Carroll Electric, need here. The guys at Carroll, they come out with bucket truck, they cut that tree down in a hurry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's in the easement, isn't it? That's what they say. It's in the easement.
You might
Get that.
call SMG if they got it.
Longer.
Yeah.
They pack will give you material, but they don't have any contract.
He's outside my house.
You're not gonna get it.
Oh, please, my-
Work with Bill.
We'll be back on.
Oh, yeah.
Brandon.
Have it back on.
We worked through all that.
We're nominated, but it won't.
Council makeup.
I moved to Jonesboro. I had to get off. I couldn't stay on.
Something about.
Jeff, I was on it back when Jeff.
Our 3 years.
Had to-
I know all that stuff. I'm like,
They got all pissy. They're like,
So.
how can we get people that don't want to?
So the only two, I think Jeff Devin was on it and Jeff.
that's not illegal. You can't stack your jury.
The first one.
I mean, it's Centerton, it's not Gentry.
The clock.
Stack your jury.
Joey's pulling in.
He's
Okay.
on.
We'll wait on Joey.
Leniency.
He's on almost an hour ago with his boat.
Oh, they're not catching the good sushi. Man, I made some money. Hardly even work. I made $100. Like that.
It sits right there. Like I said.
Yeah, I just got a few people. I make 10 years.
I'm sorry, what? What's?
Mate.
Yeah. I have, what you said.
Didn't shit in my flag. I
And I think he's kind of trying to figure out where.
20-year pin.
don't know if it's this year or next year. I can't.
You get a watch in 20 years. You got a.
Makes you feel good. Frame it.
Narrow the rest of
Yeah.
I think from Little Rock one time.
Okay, yeah. Let me understand what you're.
Oh, you're waiting on me, aren't you?
No, wait.
Let me get two lawyers
Story of my life.
To go this way or not? We got that guy. That's all. we got.
What's gonna happen?
Got it, bills by the hour, is always late.
You guys are boring, and then I'll go.
Since we docked your pay last time,
Yeah,
we can make up for it now.
the guy that bills by the hour is always late.
You got two of them today.
Yeah, but she was nice enough to introduce herself.
Yeah, no, I don't do that.
You got here early.
Hold on, yeah, no.
All right, let's,
There's snacks.
Yeah, exactly.
yes. All right, let's go ahead and get started this evening with the City of Centerton Plan. May 21st, 2024 with the roll call.
Devin Murphy.
Here.
Craig Langford. Jerry Harris. John Sessoms. Ed Lewis. Tony Davis. Brendan Swoboda.
Here.
Joey Engel.
Yeah.
Jeff Safer.
I'm here as well. Brandon's at a conference, so thanks for joining us, Brandon. First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our meeting of 5/7/2024.
John, I motion to approve the minutes for 5/7/24.
Joey, a second.
Motion and a second. Is there anyone opposed? All right, under new business, first thing this evening is Development 2117, the Schmidt Mini Storage Phasing Plan. West Highway 102, it is zoned I2, 6 acres. Is the engineer or the applicant here to give us a quick overview what they're requesting? Okay. Is it Tim, are you on?
Muted.
You want to unmute yourself? Or Robert, whichever one.
I'm unmuted, I think.
Okay,
You
yep,
are.
we gotcha.
Okay.
I think I am too.
Okay.
I'm having trouble keeping y'all up. Okay. There we go.
Okay. Are you ready for me to introduce our project?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Thank you. This is a project that you approved, back about 2 years ago, and, we are nearing completion of construction on most of the project. There were a total of, I believe there were, I think there were 10 buildings. I don't have the drawing right in front of me. I do apologize, but, we've got everything ready to go. We got everything ready to go on 8 of the 10 buildings, and so what we would like to do is go ahead and phase out those last 2 buildings, which on the illustration are shown as building A and B. And in our discussions with staff, what we've agreed to do, even though the asphalt exists between buildings A and B and buildings C1 and C2, we are going to fence that off with temporary fencing. That will make the units on the bottom or the west side of C1 and C2 unusable until such times that buildings A and B are completed. And I believe we have addressed all the staff comments, and we're glad to entertain any questions.
Thank you. Give us a staff overview.
Yes. As Tim stated, they did start construction on this back in June of 2022. It did receive preliminary approval from you guys in April of 2022, so it's been going on a little while. With this, they, like he stated, they are wanting to phase it into phase 1 and phase 2. With phase 1, which is primarily complete, we're just waiting on as-built drawings for that. It will include all the landscaping, exterior fencing, site work, and buildings C1 and C2, D, E, F1, F2, G, and H. So the only things that would be left would be buildings A and B on the very west side of the property. Sliding wrought iron gates are to be provided at the front of each drive between the buildings. And with the phasing cutting off weird kind of on the western side there, they're just going to have that gate constructed and then temporary fencing, but the gate won't be operable. So that way people won't be able to get into that area. And the west side of buildings C1 and C2 will not be rented until phase 2 is complete. And they are anticipating phase 2 being completed in the next 6 to 8 months. And that with that second phase, they would complete that little bit of privacy fence and of course get that security gates going. And they are providing 4 parking spaces, which is what was approved with the preliminary plan also. And we'll probably be going out there and doing a final inspection if you guys approve the phasing.
How was,
pretty soon.
how was that turn radius at building A from the entrance? I thought we had looked at that before, sliding that building over because of the truck turning radius.
On Which one?
Building A in the entrance.
building A in the entrance. Well, the building A.
Exit only, is that?
Exit only.
Okay, I see now. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
I know before we had it.
And I was squinting, trying to see it
Had
there.
it moved over a little bit.
Way too many lines on that one sheet. I agree.
I know, I made a bigger block around what was gonna be phase 2, so it'd be easier to see. So I
How
added,
dare you?
I know, sorry, Tim.
It's
Wanna
okay.
make it easier
No, I
to
didn't see the arrow. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Made it worse.
Whatever works.
Any other questions or comments from any of the commissioners? There are not, that I would entertain a motion for the Schmidt mini storage phasing plan.
Mr. Tony, I make a motion to approve development 2117 Smith mini storage phasing plan.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right. Thanks, Tim.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, next on the agenda is subdivision 2402 Crystal Cove, phase 3, final plat and plans. This is west of Keller, south of Kenyon. It is zoned RTH MF. It is just over 8 acres, 60 dwelling homes. And this is Tim again, is that right?
Mhm.
Tim, you want to walk us through this one as well?
Certainly, you have before you the final plat on phase three. I believe that all concerns have been addressed from a staff standpoint. The warranty or maintenance bonds have been addressed, as built. The calculations on the detention volumes have been provided. So I believe we're ready to go forward.
Thank you. Diane, you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, this is the third and final phase of the original Crystal Cove. There will be a Crystal Cove Phase 4, but that is a different project. And it has 80 buildable lots. I guess we had an error in our agenda because it is 80 buildable lots. It's lots 129 through 208 and tracks B and C. And the drainage, the street and drainage and water and sewer bonds have all been approved. And the drafts have been approved. We're waiting on the actual issued bonds. The streets, they're doing $301,477.05. Drainage is $105,705. And water and sewers, $312 and $90. And like I said, those have all been approved. We're just waiting on the final issued bonds. The density of this particular property is 6.11 units per acre. And it was approved prior to the zoning district from RTH MF12 changing to RTH MF5. But they do meet everything that was required with their original, with the original zoning. They do have a pond with this phase. It is a dry detention pond and it's located at the northwest corner of the phase adjacent to Kenyon Road. And it does discharge to a ditch on the south side of Kenyon Road. And in lieu of a trickle channel, it was decided that it would be better for them to plant trees. So 19 trees were planted in the pond. And it does look very nice. Right of way for Keller and Kenyon Road were both dedicated with phase 1. And Kenyon Road was widened to 25 feet. They're adjacent to the subdivision and paving will occur all the way to Keller Road with this phase also. I have some further details on that in just a minute. The hard copies of the approved record documents and the final bonds. The final bonds are the only things that were before everything could be recorded. They had their site inspection. We had one on April 2nd. They just had a short list of punch items and a follow-up inspection was held on the 3rd of May and everything was addressed. So everything on their site is complete. Like I said, the drainage report and the pond have been approved by Allen. Their covenants were recorded with phase 2 and they're doing a horizontal property regime, but it has been recorded and has been approved by our attorney. All the bonds have been approved by staff. And for their adjacent street agreement, they are all the right of way, like I said, was dedicated with phase 1. Keller Road improvements were also completed with phase 1. Union Road was widened to 25 feet of pavement and 5-foot sidewalks installed on the south side along the subdivision frontage. And then TriStar contractors will complete the section of Kenyon Road between their subdivision and Keller Road to include widening, grading, and paving. And that will be completed within 45 days, weather permitting, if it ever stops raining, of receiving final plat approval. The city will then pay TriStar the costs associated with paving the 640-foot section of Kenyon Road. No sidewalks, curb, or storm drain will be installed, and the city council has approved $49,500 for the paving of this section. And Kenyon Place subdivision, which is just to the north, they will be installing the sidewalks, curb and gutter, and drainage to complete this street section. So that way that will be done all along through there. There are no more comments remaining on the final plat. The record drawings, those have all been approved by staff. We're just need the hard copies and digitals and CAD versions of those. And based on all the information available, we do find that the plat to be in conformance with the City of Centerton Municipal Code.
All right, thanks, Diane.
You're welcome.
Questions or comments from any of the commissioners?
I got one question, just curious. Y'all are doing an HPR on this?
Yes.
Really?
They're individually needed.
So each store has its own parcel ID.
Hmm.
So we kind of needed to have something to outline in the event of an insurance claim or, you know, and a roof gets damaged, since you've got 5 owners under one solid roof,
I got you.
who's responsible?
I got you. Okay, I was thinking, I forgot the product y'all put on here. I thought you were just doing multifamily or single family.
Single family attached.
Okay.
So I do have one question. I don't know, it's not here, right?
No.
No,
It talks about the HDPE pipe, recrossing. I'm not sure. We got a code. I thought we required concrete pipe under RCP recrossings.
No, they'll let you do HDPE.
They allow HDPE under streets?
That's above my knowledge base.
Yep.
All right.
If there's no additional questions or comments, that I will entertain a motion for subdivision 2402 Crystal Cove Phase 3, final plat and plans.
Yeah, motion to approve subdivision 2402 Crystal Cove Phase 3 final plat and plans.
John, second.
And the bond,
And the bonds is applicable.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Next on the agenda is Development 2309, the Mod Lux Townhomes. This is the large-scale development, site plans, and PUD and adjacent street agreement. This one is at 578 Womack Road. It is zoned R3 multifamily, 4.85 acres with 48 dwellings. How are you tonight?
Good evening, Ron Holmeyer, Civil Engineering, 701 South Mount Olive, Silent Springs. What we have here is just a third approval request, the actual large scale or significant development for this one. We're made some minor changes from the PD. You provide additional storage on the detention to make all the numbers work. And same number of units, same number of parking spaces provided, same number of green space provided, so landscape plan, as far as I know, has been approved. The lighting plan has been approved, and we have a couple of minor items to address. Staff comments and answer any questions you may ask.
Kayla?
Yes, so the applicant is requesting preliminary approval of development plans to develop a multifamily development at the northwest corner of Womack and Kimmel Road. The development will include 48 residential units with 10 fourplexes, 2 duplex, with a density of 9.9 units per acre. This property does have a PUD that was approved at the 2024 Planning Commission meeting. So this property is directly adjacent to a single family home. And then Blossom Hills to the east, to the west is Southwind subdivisions, phases 1 and 2. To the south is Featherston Village West, with that northeast corner of Featherston Village West being zone C3, which is neighborhood commercial. To the southeast is Featherston Village Original, and then the dunes at Prairie Valley is also to the southeast, and then to the north is undeveloped and zoned A1. So this one did have a PUD, so a few of the requirements that it needed to meet. For ownership, it had to be under one ownership. They're not proposing any additional subdivisions, so it meets that requirement. The density, the PUD allowed 9.9 units per acre. They kept their unit count the same, so it still meets that. For the architectural treatment, we outlined what materials they could use and their articulations with the PUD. They didn't change anything for that, so it still meets. For the open space, no less than 31.24% of open space could be dedicated via permanent open space easements. So this development meets that requirement. They're designating 1.26 acres, which is 31.5% as open space. For their zoning, they are zoned R3MF, which is medium high density multifamily. And that area is intended for one structure on a single lot that consists of 3 to 4 dwelling units attached. With the PUD, be allowed that they could have all of their buildings on one lot instead of each building on their own lot. And then for the setbacks, you guys did the front and street side setbacks as 15 feet, the rear setback and the side setbacks as 20 feet. There is an existing metal building on site as well as 2 septic systems that will have to be abated and removed with construction. For utilities, they're tying into existing water lines along Kimmel Road and Womack Road. And then they're extending a sewer line from Blossom Hill subdivision along Kimmel Road to service development. There are no wetlands or floodplain on the property. For the adjacent street agreement, this parcel is adjacent to Kimmel Road and Womack Road. Both roads are designated as major collectors with a right-of-way of 80 feet per the master street plan. Major collectors provide access to arterial roads, neighborhoods, parks, schools, and small commercial areas. So they balance the land access with mobility and direct traffic to the transportation grid. The internal streets are proposed to be private with a width of 25 feet back of curb. Sidewalks are not provided along the interior streets because there are sidewalks provided throughout the development for pedestrian circulation. And of course, that also means there's no on-street parking. Womack Road, they're dedicating 40 feet of right-of-way to meet the master street plan requirements, and then they'll be widening the road and putting in curb and gutter to meet the requirement of 38 feet back of curb. That's called out for our master street plan section. They'll be putting in a 10-foot sidewalk as well. Street lights and street trees will be installed for the master street plan section. The street trees will be installed outside of the right-of-way, and then streetlights will also be put at the entrances. And then for Kimmel Road, it's essentially the same thing. They're dedicating 40 feet of right-of-way, and then they're widening the road. It's a little bit more of a variable amount because Featherston Village West is directly south of them, and they're also doing improvements, so they're tying in to transition Kimmel Road back down. So it'll be fully improved at the intersection, and then they're tying in with Featherston West. They are building the 6-foot sidewalk. There is a trail called out on our master street or our master trails plan, the McKissick Spring Loop, which is a 12-foot trail, but since we haven't fully figured out which side of the road that trail is going on, they're only doing 6 feet, and then if the trail ends up being on their side of the road, we'll go in to put that other 6 feet. So staff has approved the adjacent street agreement and recommends it for approval by the planning commission. For the drainage, there are 2 wet ponds on site. The northeast pond has a maximum depth of 10 feet, and the southwest pond also has a maximum depth of 10 feet. During the development plan review, it was found that both ponds needed to be increased to meet the needs of the site. This caused a minor change in the layout of the site, with a few of the fourplexes losing some units to widen those ponds. So what they did to keep their units is originally we had this open space just south of the entrance on Womack. They have put a triplex there to keep their unit count. With that change, they do still meet the green space requirements. The drainage report has been approved by the city engineer, contingent on remaining comments about the ponds being designed to handle a 100-year storm event. There's a specific section of pipe that needs to be doubled to handle a 100-year storm event because it's the discharge pipe for the pond. Additionally, the project needs to coordinate with Featherston Village West to tie into an existing inlet east of Daisy. Per Allen, these changes shouldn't hold up the preliminary approval of the project. He was fine with them getting approval. For the lighting, streetlights are provided throughout the development to light the streets, and then decorative lighting is provided along the walking paths and in the central green spaces. Streetlights are also provided at the entrances on Kimmel and Womack. So the photometric plan has been approved by staff and is recommended for approval by the planning commission. The site plan needs to be updated to show that the decorative lighting is throughout the site so that it gets put in. For the trash enclosures, there are 2 trash enclosures on site. Both enclosures are made of concrete block and proposed wood gate. For the landscaping, trees are proposed within landscape buffers on the north and west property lines along Kimmel and Womack Road and within the central open spaces. Shrubs are proposed around the wet ponds and a screening around the dumpster enclosures. Landscaping is also provided in front of each unit. Staff has approved the landscaping plan and recommends for approval by the planning commission. For the screening, as required with the PUD, there's a 6-foot privacy fence on the west and north property lines with a 10 to 15-foot landscape buffer containing trees. To allow some screening with those residential properties for the parking. Nothing changed from the PUD except for the location of the parking changed a bit. So they're providing 1 covered parking space within a garage and 2 uncovered parking spaces for each unit within the driveways, as well as 16 visitor parking spaces throughout the development, which is 1 space per 3 units, to allow for visitor parking because on-street parking is not able with this. There are 2 signs proposed, 1 at each entrance. They'll have to get a sign permit, Public Works for those. So there are a few remaining comments on the plans regarding some of the notes and the labeling. And then those minor comments on the storm sewer and the pond. The city engineer has approved the plans contingent on his comments being addressed. So for your guys' consideration is the preliminary plans, which we recommend be contingent on remaining staff comments, the photometric plan, and the adjacent street agreement. I'll try to answer any of your questions. If it's about the pond, kind of doomed, but I'll try.
I have a question about the ponds.
Great, I'm ready.
I didn't look at the northeast one. The southwest one's 4 foot deep. It's a wet pond. Don't we require fencing around that?
4 feet.
I think it was the drainage manual says it's up to Alan to figure out whether he wants to require it or not, or you guys can also require it.
So I think it was a slope definition as well as a depth definition. I think it was 4 feet was the.
Oh, I thought it was any wet pond. I don't know if there's a depth requirement on that, but.
I'll double check with Alan. If
Okay.
you
We can
don't-
just add it to the outstanding things to be addressed. Ron, do you have any issues with the 100-year, adjusting the ponds to the 100-year? And looks like upsizing a pipe?
No, I mean, we'll do what we need to do to get it approved. Don't particularly understand the comment, but we'll work through it.
Yeah. Is it freeboard?
It's not a freeboard issue.
No. Okay.
I mean, the pipe, my hydraulic grade line is shown to be in the middle of the pipe in 100-year storm, but he's saying it needs to be doubled because of a capacity issue, and so I've just got to talk to him and find out what he's seeing. The freeboard is provided without any problem. In fact, he asked me to reduce the freeboard, and all I did was flood the streets and not actually get into the pond, so that's the reason I had to make the ponds bigger.
Okay, but you think you're going through it?
Yeah, we can work through these. These are minor issues.
How about something other than wood gates around for the trash enclosure? We've not been fans of those for a number of years. I mean, you guys have done the block around them and then you're gonna put, it's just not a good combination. Going up all over town, and so we've been requiring something other than, I say require, we've been asking, because they'll definitely last longer. And it should save you in the long run, especially since this is fiberboard. We'd like something other than wood, if you can do some metal or something.
I'll get with the owner and we'll figure out something.
Anybody have any other questions or comments? If not, then I would entertain a motion for Development 2309, the Modlux Townhomes, the large scale sites, plans and PUD adjacent, street agreement.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve Development 2309. LSD plans for the PUD and the adjacent street agreement as discussed, with all the outstanding comments remaining to be addressed.
Second.
Motion and the second, is anyone opposed? All right, thanks, good luck. All right, next on the agenda is subdivision 2306. Skyline Cottages, preliminary plat and plans. This is the southeast corner of Keller and Bliss. It's 13, just over 13 acres, zoned R3 single family with 85 single family dwelling units. with a PUD. Are you Jeff?
Yes, I'm Jeff.
You want to give us a quick overview, Jeff?
Yeah, I'm Jeff Nichols with HAF. As you mentioned, this is basically more inside phase 5, if you will. We're proposing an 81 lot single family subdivision on the northeast corner of Bliss and Keller. This is zoned R3 itself. So we've got all the comments from the planning commission.
And you want to give a staff overview?
Yes, this property is located at the northeast corner of Bliss and Keller. It is 13 acres and it is 81 lots, including lot A and B, which are their detention lots, and it is 6.23 units per acre. PUD 2204 was approved by the Planning Commission on November 15, 2022. The PUD was part of a settlement that was agreed by staff and planning staff and city council at a settlement conference, because this was part of a lawsuit that we had to deal with. The settlement was approved with the understanding that this development would be appropriate in this location without further detriment to the neighboring properties. The settlement resolves all claims of the lawsuit, and it is designated medium high density residential, the R3 single family, and has a max density of, in that zone, of 7 to 11 units per acre. The proposed subdivision is 6.23 units per acre. Morningside there to the north is 4.8 units per acre, and Fox Haven there to the southeast is 3.65 units per acre. The proposed subdivision will have access on Keller Road, which is a minor arterial with 90 feet of right of way, and to the west via a new local road and Napa Drive, a minor collector on the east via existing stub out already in Belvedere, which that's existed for years and years and years. So they're connecting up with that. And the developer will provide 6-foot sidewalks along Bliss and Keller with the development. As far as the PUD, they are meeting all of the requirements of the PUD with this development. They were allowed to have up to 85 single family homes, but that was not able to work out due to the detention requirements for this property. So they are actually exceeding that for the PUD. The PUD said 85, they're only doing 81 units. And they have minimum lot widths of 30 feet, minimum lot size of 3,000 square feet, 10-foot front setbacks, 10-foot rear setbacks, except when it's abutting the adjacent property in the Morningside subdivision, that it is 25 feet. And the side setbacks in the PUD stated that they were as required by the fire code, and that is 5 feet. And they are meeting all of those requirements with this subdivision plan. Parking, no additional guest parking can be required for the settlement agreement. So they are just providing 2 driveways wide enough to accommodate 2 vehicles parked side by side. And that's something that we could not, that is specifically stated that we couldn't request any additional parking beyond what is being provided. Landscaping, the developer is required to provide landscaping of their choosing at the entrances to the subdivision. So that will be up to them when the plat is final as to what they're planting there on the site. And architectural treatment, they do have masonry wainscoting that will be up to 3 feet along the front facade of all the homes. And they are meeting this requirement. The proposed subdivision is served by Carroll Electric. The water service will be provided via connection to existing water main on Keller Road on the west side and on the south side of Bliss Street. So they do have, for their water. Storm sewer service will be provided from existing manhole to the north and Morningside phase 4, and all of the easements and everything are already there for that. They are not located in or adjacent to a floodplain, and no wetlands were found on the property. For the drainage, the proposed subdivision will have 2 dry detention ponds, one located on the west side adjacent to Keller Road and one on the north side of Belvedere Street. So it'll be interior to the subdivision, and both ponds will require retaining walls due to size limitation of the areas and the design of the site. Pond A is the one there that's interior of the subdivision, and it has a maximum depth of 6 feet with a retaining wall on all sides. They are providing a 6-foot decorative safety fence around the entire pond, and like with Crystal Cove Phase 3, they are doing trees in the pond. There are 19 trees to be planted in the bottom in lieu of a trickle channel. And there will also be a 5-foot buffer, since there are lots directly abutting this pond. There'll be a 5-foot buffer between pond fence and the lots, and no fences will be allowed to divide into that 5-foot buffer. And staff approved a minimum of 1-foot buffer between the sidewalk and pond fence on the south side there. So between the south side of the pond and the sidewalk, they're on Belvedere Street, again, due to design constraints. And these were all things that were approved with planning staff and also the city engineer. And there are diagrams in there for the engineers of you that would like to look at the details further. Pond B is located on the west side, and it's directly adjacent to Keller Road. It has a maximum depth again of 6 feet, and the retaining wall will be located on the east side, so just the side where the lots are located, which are lots 60 through 64, and they will also have a decorative safety fence on the top of the wall, so that way nobody falls in. A 5-foot buffer is also located between the fence and the rear of the adjacent lots. And 7.5 feet of green space buffer with a maximum slope of 10% is provided between the back of this pond, and there'll be a little short wall coming down off the back side of the pond, and then it'll be leveled out a little further, no more than 10% slope, and then a 6-foot sidewalk. And 6 trees, again, will be planted at the bottom of this pond in lieu of a trickle channel. And again, for the engineers of the group, there are details of the ponds. As far as adjacent street agreement, another one of the things, the settlement agreement did not allow for us to do our typical adjacent street agreement that you guys are used to. And the only thing that we could have them do was right-of-way dedication. They are doing 2 turn lanes at Bliss and Keller, 6-foot sidewalks on both Bliss and Keller, and ditch improvements with cross pipes at the new streets that they are doing. The developer will contribute up to $10,000 for utility relocation and easement acquisitions. So for Bliss Street, they are dedicating 40 feet of right-of-way. They are constructing a 6-foot sidewalk and a left turn lane at Keller. And Bliss Street currently has 24 feet of pavement and no curb and gutter and no sidewalks. There is already existing streetlights at the corner of Bliss and Keller. As far as Keller Road, it's a minor arterial, so 90 feet of right-of-way, 45 feet of right-of-way is being dedicated. 6-foot sidewalks and a left turn lane at Bliss will be constructed. Currently, Keller Road has 22 feet of pavement with no curb and gutter or sidewalks. And a street light will be provided at the entrance there at Windstorm Lane, which is the new street that they're going to have to access Keller Road. And this was approved by staff. Remaining comments are super minor labeling things that I'm just waiting for them to resubmit for the small little minor comments, and everything else meets what was required.
Oh, I thought side setbacks were 7, are they not? I thought it was 5. I thought it was 7.
There's sprinkler buildings.
Okay. And that's okay?
It's sprinkled.
Okay.
I thought they were just doing the extra wall. No?
They're townhome. Or no.
These are single family.
I'm sorry, wrong part.
Okay.
Yes, they're doing the extra fire blocking on the inside, like Featherston.
Okay.
Yes.
The walls, okay.
Essentially, it's a non-vented metal soffit and, that have fire blocking on the attic side where the eave comes into the attic.
Any other questions or comments?
What was the comment you said about easement acquisition? $10,000.
If there are any required easements to be purchased or location of utilities, they will only pay up to like $10,000.
So that's on the city?
Jeff, I know the landscaping is that you're choosing. Have y'all got that far yet, or is that down the road for the entrance?
Entrance,
Street trees.
Jesse Fulcher with Roush Coleman Homes, to Commissioner Ingles' comment, we're able to work around all the utilities. It was kind of a safety net because none of us knew when we went through the settlement discussions what utilities were actually on site and what it would take to install the 2 turn lanes. And so that's really all it was just a safety net that we're able to do. Install the turn lanes. I think the only item we may have to move is the fire hydrant. So it didn't end up being a big deal. In terms of the landscape plan, yeah, we will have a landscape plan. We haven't developed it yet, but I would assume some bushes there at the entrance where our monument will be, and then trees there along the right of way would be my expectation.
Is there a plan for a sign or anything?
Yes, sir. We would like to do a sign. I don't think we've picked out a location for it, but
I'm just thinking we don't have anything in here that needs to be approved by Anthony, just to make sure that everything's covered on those.
yes, sir, we'll pull the necessary funds.
Was there anything in there seems to be a lot of discussion in this previous lawsuit, but was there talk of street trees or?
I don't think it was just left up in the air. I mean, we have a full
Not-
application of developing a landscape plan. We'll make it look good.
Didn't require any additional landscaping.
Gotcha. Well. Let's quit asking questions.
I hate too, we can't get to the east, the Morningside has curb and gutter and sidewalks, and then here we are mismatching with no curb and gutter. So is there a plan or anything where we can work with them to provide the curb and gutter to finish that out?
That would be an Anthony and
Yeah.
Alan question.
Kind of a shame, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, we keep,
For the citizens of Centerton. Yeah.
I think the turn lanes will be a very good addition as opposed to additional pavement, that really didn't provide additional capacity. When we go curb and gutter, no curb and gutter, curb and gutter, I don't think that does a service either. Looks tacky. It doesn't provide any benefit for our residents either, so.
If there are no other questions or comments, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 2306 of Skyline Cottages. Preliminary plat and plans, and just to note that it is 81 instead of the 85 that was on the agenda.
Greg, I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 23-06 Skyline Cottages preliminary plat and plans and outstanding items.
John will second the signage items and other comments.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thanks. Good luck. Next on the agenda is MSI 2405 Saving Grace Sanitary Sewer Extension. 12135 West Arkansas Highway 72.
Good evening, my name is Anthony Ferreira with Sand Creek Engineering. This project actually, or this property, I've been through the process before for water line extension and site improvements. We were just wanting to go back to the system to get an extension on sanitary sewer line, to provide service for property.
Me again. As Anthony stated, this project has come before you before. It was approved for the development 2202 back in November of 2023. And it is all completed, all construction was completed with that. And the plan the whole time was to use their septic service that existed for the big house at the back of the property until the new lift station was completed with Big Sky Phase 2. Well, that has now been completed and the property owners are now able to connect to that sanitary sewer. And they're installing a 485 linear feet of sewer line to connect to the existing large house that you see here on the plans. Into the sewer service of the Big Sky subdivision. 2 manholes will also be included with this extension. There are just very minor comments remaining from utilities, mainly just labeling and some notes for them to add. So,
Any
pretty
questions,
small project.
any questions or comments from any of the commissioners in regards to the sanitary sewer extension? They've been doing a lot of work out there, so, if there's no additional questions or comments, I would entertain a motion for MSI 2405, the Saving Grace, the sanitary.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve, site improvement 2405, Saving Grace Sanitary Sewer Extension.
This Brandon, I second.
Motion, had to get some of
Dang, he jumped, he was ready for that.
Yes, I was.
Brandon will see his name in the paper. Have a name.
Motion and a second by Brandon. Is anyone opposed? All right. Next on the agenda under other business, there are three of the commissioners that are up for reappointment with terms expiring June 30th of 2024. And so I just need to ask, Jerry, are you still willing to serve?
Yes.
Tony?
Yes.
Hey, Jeff, are you willing to serve?
And
Undecided?
I am willing to serve as well. And so, with that, what we need to do for our bylaws is make a recommendation to the mayor for the reappointment of the three planning commissioners, myself, Jerry, and Tony.
A motion to request mayor approval for Jeff, Jerry, and Tony for commissioner extension.
Second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys. I'm sure you guys saw the news about Centerton being one of the fastest growing. Hopefully you guys went through and read through the article that was published. It talks about all the different cities and how the smaller cities are growing, with Fayetteville being, say they reached 100,000 and everything. So there's a document for you guys to take a peek at and everything. So there's a tech review meeting that's the 23rd. There's a special council meeting tomorrow night, I believe, just for one of the things tonight. The next planning commission meeting is 6/4. If you cannot be here, please let us know. And I will see you, but also make sure that you have on your calendar the RDOT public meeting comments that are scheduled for 6/6. For us, we actually can be in at 2:30 if you happen to be able to get away. So just make that notes. And anything else from staff?
I don't think so.
If not, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Oh, yeah, comment.
Sorry. Absolutely. Come on up. Retract it.
Not moved.
Unmoved.
Moved.
I'm gonna read this just because took me a long time to get my thoughts together after attending meetings for over a year and observing the process.
State your name first and your address for the record.
Zoomstein, 230 Townview. I respectfully request that the planning commission evaluate and amend the current bylaws to establish an open application process in selecting the planning commissioners. By this, we just found out that it was in the bylaws last week, that this is basically a closed system and each commissioner can be in here for life if they choose to. And we would just like to see it open for applicants from the city, any qualified resident to apply. This will ensure the community have a variety of background and perspectives. Because, I mean, if you don't know it, men and women both think differently. And there's no women on this. And every time y'all are doing or approving a planning, I'm sitting here thinking, what about the neighbors? Are they protecting the neighbors? Oftentimes I always hear Joey comment on this about the street view and all of that we appreciate. But what about the neighbors? I mean, that's my thoughts. And that's where some differences come in. So I would like to see some of those things addressed. I don't know if a female would want to apply, but anybody who's qualified.
Tiffany.
And the last two open seats, no one applied.
Really?
Not a single, well, one person applied for the last two open seats.
So So anyhow, this is just from my observations that I would like to see a little bit more variety, different perspectives. This would encourage, hopefully encourage the residents to get engaged, maybe build trust. Also, this change will reinforce your commitment to democratic principles and community involvement. And then I thank you for your time and consideration of this.
Thanks, Cindy.
Can I ask you one question?
Sure.
Your example with the neighbors.
Yeah.
Are you up to speed on the codes and what can actually be enforced?
I've been reading some. Of course, a lot of it goes over my head because I don't know all the code, I don't know about building. I just know courtesy to others, just like with the Isabel project. You know, I was just asking him on the side, I'm like, have you considered your neighbor? You know, I don't know if the commission can ask you to put trees there or not. But it would be nice to consider your neighbors, to have a friendly relationship with your neighbors. And that's, I mean, all of y'all had to learn codes and some know it probably more than others, but I think people can learn. I've been getting on the city's website, learning, you know, what you can do, what you can't do. And other people can too. I know it just takes different people who want to learn. But people should be given that opportunity, in my opinion.
And it's worked both ways, I promise you. We've seen people get on it for one thing to get something passed and then they're off.
Yeah.
And so we take that gamble, but I mean, I think this, I've been on here a while. If you want to say I'm a lifer, I've been on here a while, and I can say this is probably one of the best commissions we've had for the betterment. That's the key word, betterment of the city. I've been on here with some that's just been about personal agendas, to work with somebody else, to get a developer in here. This is the best one we've had that is probably the most fair and leaves the personal interest out of it. I'm just trying to reassure you from experience. With the betterment of the city, not people working here, but the betterment of the city in mind, I promise you.
Well, I have to say, and I have to admit, the first time I sat in on a meeting, I was really impressed at all the things that you all considered. Lighting, trees, drainage, you know, what was it? Lighting pollution. I never even heard such a thing, things like that. So I've learned a lot from you all by attending these meetings, and I am impressed. And I think probably about 95% of the time I do agree with y'all. But sometimes I just think it would be a fair and democratic process to allow people to apply. I'm not saying that they're going to be qualified, but that's
And we have,
whoever.
we've let them, if we have an open position, we even took up to 5 people sometimes and they go.
I think what you're suggesting though,
Just
is
kick-
if somebody's,
just kick off every-
somebody's up for reelection, accept application.
Put it on the website. You know, we have 3 openings coming up. Anybody who wants to apply, who are qualified, these are the qualifications. And then wait and see what happens. Probably no one in most cases would apply, but who knows? I might want to apply one day. Not now.
One thing about our positions here is we're apolitical, like we're not running for reelection.
Elected.
So we're
Exactly.
code enforcement. So really the changes, I guess, and we're only a recommending body. We really only recommend to the city council. They're the ones that can either accept our recommendation or deny our recommendation.
Right, but sometimes they're saying that you have to.
Responsible to approve that. That's an elected position, so there's politics involved in it.
Yes.
So with this body, we're kind of like the rule, we understand the rules, and that's what our guidelines are. So just to let you know.
But I do, yeah, I do.
That's kind of like the difference. What you're recommending is you know, you're starting to put almost the politics out you're running.
No, it's an application process.
Which we do have.
Still the point.
Application process. Yeah.
Yeah.
When there's something that's open.
It is noted, and I've had some conversations with Bill, so it's already been discussed.
And the more you learn, hey, keep coming to the meetings and make comments.
Yeah, we
That's how we
appreciate
learn too. I mean.
Thank you for coming. I know you've been here a lot
Yeah.
over the past year.
If there are no additional comments, then I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move again.
Moved again.
Second.
Motion and second. Is anyone opposed? Thank you, guys.
This is the furthest.